Welcome to Lootbox. This is a quick crash course to get you ready for the tournament. Lootbox is a deck builder, and that means each player starts with the same 12 card starter deck, and you'll improve this deck over the course of the game to build a stronger, more efficient engine. In Lootbox, you play as a guild master. There are two rival factions, the Blue Guild, represented by the Blue Guild insignia, and the Red Guild, represented by the Red Guild insignia. Each card represents an item, and your deck represents your guild's arsenal. As Guildmaster, you'll manage the items at your disposal and send guild members equipped with those items into the dungeons. There, you'll compete for powerful new item cards and the victory points you need to win the game. So let's take a look at the board. The board is divided into two main sections. We have the dungeon lanes on the left and the market on the right. Most of the time, you'll be doing two big things. You'll be placing cards into the dungeon lanes to compete for control, and you'll be acquiring new cards from the market to upgrade your deck. Over the course of the game, item cards will be placed left to right into these dungeon lanes, and eventually a lane will become full. The goal is to have the most power on your item cards in that dungeon lane in order to win the dungeon. We can see the power of an item here in the upper left of the card. To start the game, each player will shuffle their deck. They'll draw 3 cards to form the opening hand, and blue will always take the first turn. Turns are broken into 3 phases: the action phase, the looting phase, the reset phase. Each turn you have 3 action points to utilize the cards in your hand. You don't have to spend all of these points, but unused action points do not roll over. There are 3 actions you can take with your action points. You can play, store, or trash. You can take these actions in any order, in any combination, and even repeated actions are allowed. You can take any action with any card, but some cards will provide additional effects when a specific action is applied to it. These may include extra gold when stored, powerful effects when played, or even bonuses when trashed. Let's explore these actions in depth. Play. To play a card, you take it from your hand and simply place it into the leftmost available slot of any dungeon lane. Then, mark it with your guild insignia to indicate that the card is in play and that you're the controller. The choice of which dungeon to play in is purely tactical. There's no inherent difference between these lanes. There's 2 important rules though. First, you can only play once in each dungeon on your turn, so if you want to play multiple cards, they do have to go in different dungeons. And second, some cards show this crossed out eyeball or hidden symbol, and these cards must be played face down. Your opponent will not know the power or effects of these cards until the dungeon resolution. You, however, are always free to peek at your own face down cards. The next action is trash. To trash a card, simply remove it from your hand and place it into your trash pile. Trash cards are effectively removed from your deck, and this is the main way you have to thin your deck and improve consistency. Finally, you can store cards for later. To store a card, you simply discard it. And every time you store a card, you gain 3 gold. Gold is persistent from turn to turn, and you'll mostly be using it in the market to acquire new items. Now let's turn our attention to the market. The market's divided into 3 class shops: the Wizard Shop, the Rogue Shop, and the Warrior Shop. Each shop supports a unique combination of strategic archetypes. The Wizard focuses on card draw, deck manipulation, and bonus actions. The Rogue focuses on items that are meant to be played face down with their hidden synergies and surprise effects, while the Warrior focuses on high-powered items that have drawbacks, removal, and aggressive tempo. You can acquire cards during your action phase at any time from the market, and buying cards in this way does not take up your action points. As long as you have money, you can continue to purchase cards. Acquired cards go directly to your discard pile, and we can see the price of each item here in the upper right. There are 4 prices in the market: 3, 5, 7, and 9, with the 3 and 5 cost cards populating the piles on the left-hand side of the shops, and the 7 and 9 cost cards populating the piles on the right-hand side of the shops. In addition to purchasing items from the market, you can also remove 1 item in the market from the game per turn. Think of this like a ban. Simply take the top card of any shop pile and remove it from the board. This can be done once again at any time during your action phase, regardless of whether or not you make purchases that turn. Once a player is finished with their actions and the market, the looting phase begins. It is in this phase that players gain victory points and advance the game state. This phase only triggers though if there are dungeons ready to be looted, meaning dungeons that are full of items and have no more slots remaining for play. If multiple dungeons are full in this way, it's the active player that will choose the order in which they're looted. So here's how to loot a dungeon. Starting on the left-hand side and moving to the right, flip and resolve any of the face-down hidden cards in that order. After this is complete, add up the total power of each player's items. The player with the greatest total power wins the dungeon. If there's a tie, the winner is the player who controls the leftmost item of greatest power. The winner then receives the victory banner. The dungeon winner takes the victory banner and places it on the 10 of their score track. If the winner already has the victory banner, they instead move it down their score track by 1. This victory banner indicates the number of victory points that a player needs to collect in order to win the game. If you win a dungeon while your opponent controls the victory banner, however, you steal it from wherever it is on the score track and place it on the 10 of your score track. After the victory banner's position is confirmed, players return all items they played in the dungeon to their discard piles. The guild insignias, however, remain for a moment. The loot draft begins. The dungeon is populated with rewards for this loot draft. The loot box, as it were, opens. Each dungeon provides half of its slots and victory points, and the other half as random items from the loot deck. Starting with the dungeon winner, players will then take turns drafting these rewards. The number of draft picks each player gets is determined by the guild insignias in that dungeon. The winner will always claim the first draft pick, and will always get a number of draft picks equal to the greatest number of guild insignias as played by either player. That means that if both players have 2 insignias in the dungeon, each player will get 2 picks, starting with the winner and alternating. However, if the insignias are 3 to 1, then the winner will get 3 picks, and the loser will get 1, regardless of how many insignias each player personally contributed. Now let's look at the difference between drafting victory points and items. As we see, victory points have 2 sides, locked and unlocked. Only the winner, the controller of the victory banner, may draft locked victory points. However, if the dungeon winner selects an item at any point during the draft, all remaining locked victory points become unlocked. From that moment on, either player may take them. If a victory point is drafted, it's simply moved to that player's score track. The first player to reach the victory banner with their victory points wins the entire game. To draft an item, you have 2 options. Simply acquire it to your discard pile, just like you had bought it from the market, or remove it from the game to gain 1 iron coin. Iron coins function just like gold, but with 1 key upgrade. During your action phase, you can spend 3 iron coins to purchase a victory point directly to your score track. There's one more important rule about dungeon progression. After the first time a 4-slot dungeon is looted, remove this card. For the rest of the game, this becomes a 6-slot dungeon lane. That means that going forward, it will produce 3 victory points and 3 items. After a dungeon has been looted, it's reset and ready for play again. Once all eligible dungeons have been looted, the active player moves to the reset phase. The reset phase is pretty easy. Just draw 3 cards, discard down to 3 cards. Just one key timing note, the reset phase happens after the looting phase, so you don't actually draw your next hand setup until all dungeon resolutions and loot drafts are complete. So let's just take a look at the game loop then. Play, store, trash, got your 3 action points for your turn. Buy what you want from the market, loot any of the full dungeons when applicable, and reset. I want to close with a couple symbols, abilities we might encounter during play. First, we have Quick Cast. Quick Cast is an ability that you use from hand. It does not require an action point. Think of this as a free bonus action. You'll find these mostly in the wizard shop. If a card has Quick Cast, you can play it, store it, trash it as normal, but you could, from your hand, alternatively activate the Quick Cast ability. To do that, you just reveal the card to your opponent, do whatever the Quick Cast text says, and then discard the card. Destroy, this broken card symbol, means a card is discarded from play. From play means specifically in a dungeon. After a card is discarded from play, cards around it do not move or shift. This icon indicates an ongoing effect. An ongoing effects stay active as long as the card is in play. That means in a dungeon. Different ongoing effects will have different specificities though, so take a look at the card. This symbol indicates more enemy items than allied items, and this means that in the relevant dungeon where you want to trigger the ability, your opponent has to have more items than you. In other words, you must be outnumbered in that dungeon for the effect to apply. Lastly, we have these 12 identical 0-power token items called knapsacks. You'll only ever draw these if you go to draw from your discard pile and have no discard pile to reshuffle. Alternatively, certain cards will utilize these in their abilities, whether letting you place some of these without using a play action into a dungeon or bloating out your opponent's deck. Just look for this symbol on the relevant cards. And that's it. Wraps up the teach.